field, I'm number one. Pressure heavy, weigh a ton. Yeah. Yeah. Sweat drips down off my brow. Every move I make them proud. Haters talk, they love my style. Champions we.
Welcome to the Man Utd stream. Hope you're doing well. It's Thursday midday and we've got lots to talk about. I'm just trying to work out how quick I can get through all the news in a short space of time, because I feel like I go on and on in these live streams and we have lots of people joining us and it just becomes a complete chat room show and we just start discussing everything to do with Man United and what's going on, and it kind of spills into lots of different things. But welcome to the show, guys. Make sure you hit the like button on this video, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you hit the subscribe, get them out of the way and get straight into today's show. And you've hit the thumbnail and you know what it's about. Kobbie Mainoo. We've been saying this now for a couple of days, actually. We've been telling you because we got the news around about last week. I heard some murmurs that Kobbie Mainoo is going to leave in January, and I was like, I can't see this happening. I can't see United letting him go. He's a young, developing player, someone who's highly regarded at United, and United probably will not want to see him leave because they're already struggling with midfielders. So why would they allow Kobbie Mainoo to leave? But we've got some credible sources now reporting the same thing that we mentioned last week, which was Kobbie Mainoo is going to probably hand in a transfer request and will want to leave. Whether the club accept the transfer request in January is a big question mark. The club United could quite easily turn around and say, no, we're not having it. We're not having it. Thank you very much. We know you want to leave. We know there's World Cup around the corner and you want to get involved. Of course, there's international break going on right now. Some of the United players or players around the Premier League, Rashford and so forth, they've all gone to join up with the international team. And he probably feels left out. He probably wants to be there as well. And let's be honest, if he was playing for United on a regular basis, I think he would be in the international squad right now. But will he get any game time from now up until January transfer window? That could change things. I think if he starts getting some game time, I think it will change a lot. The problem we've got is that we've already heard that he's competing for the place against the one and only, the captain, Bruno Fernandes. And he never gets injured. He never gets injured. He never gets tired. He's a machine. This guy is a machine, whether we like it or not. I mean, there's some fans who love it. I love it as well. I love the fact that we've got a consistent player and he's been value for money. I mean, we bought him for next to nothing, and the amount of game time he's given and look, I think he's hardly been out. I think he might have missed 1 or 2 games. Even that, if that. I mean, I can't remember him being out for longer than a game. Drop your comments. Let me know if you agree with that or whether you can confirm that. I'm sure this guy, Bruno Fernandes, has not been out for long. And look, if you're Kobbie Mainoo, if you were Kobbie Mainoo right now, what would you do? I want your comments in the show. Let me know whether you stick with Kobbie or whether you say, well, no, Kobbie's wrong and he shouldn't be leaving and he should bide his time. Bide his time and sit here. He's only 20, by the way, so he is very young. So is he overstepping the mark? Is he someone who should be saying, well, look, of course, I'm not going to start ahead of Bruno Fernandes. He is at the peak of his career. Maybe I just need to carry on working hard, and my chance will come. Maybe not this season, but next season or the season after. I am only 20, but then look, 20 in football terms is where you really want to be playing football nowadays. I mean, there's lots of other youngsters who are playing at 20, playing and getting regular game time. For me, if I'm looking at this situation, if I'm Rúben Amorim, I'm looking at it thinking, look, am I going to play him? Am I going to use him? If I'm not going to use him, I'd rather than just send him out on loan to another Premier League club, or if not somewhere else. There's talk now in the last 24 hours, there's been talk about Serie A clubs being interested in Kobbie Mainoo, in particular Napoli. Now, Napoli seem like a feeder club, or United seem like a feeder club to Napoli, because all our players are going over there. We've had Hoyland, we've had McTominay, and now also Kobbie Mainoo could be on the list on a loan move to Napoli. What do you make of that? And then for me, I start thinking, well, even if we take him back after he's been playing in the Serie A, he will still need to adjust to the Premier League again. I don't see any sense in that. For me, I would like him to go to maybe another Premier League club, a Premier League club that he can then work his way up and still keep in the game, keep his mind in the Premier League. Welcome, Jim. Hope you're doing well. Welcome, Sanus. Hope you're both doing well. Thank you for joining us. Big thank you to Jim. Like always, he's a moderator and he comes on every day without a fail, and he helps along and just sorts things out for me without me having to say anything. So again, appreciate everything you do for the channel, Jim, and everybody else who joins in every day, like Sanus and everybody else who jumps on and becomes part of this community. I'm loving it. I'm loving this community growing and just everyone discussing things. And like I said, I'm committed to doing a 12 noon show every day, hopefully bringing you all the latest news and more from Man United. Now, anyway, coming back to Kobbie Mainoo. What do we all think about Kobbie Mainoo? For me, if I was Rúben Amorim, I would try and get him some game time. I don't know how. I don't know how he's going to do it, because currently in this formation, the system that Rúben Amorim's playing, it's highly unlikely that he will get any game time, because next to Bruno Fernandes, you need an out-and-out CDM. You need someone like a Casemiro or someone very defensive. Look, Ugarte obviously is the second to Casemiro, so that position is locked down. Then you've got the other position where it's a CM and he's got a bit more freedom to go ahead and attack rather than just sitting back constantly. He can move the ball forward, and that's his role. That's Bruno Fernandes. Pick up the ball, defend, but also get forward when you get any chances to go forward. Look, will he get any time ahead of Bruno Fernandes? I can't see that happening. I can't see that happening. No matter what happens, Bruno Fernandes will be considered the main player at United, and he will be expected to start. And imagine what happens when we're playing, say, for instance, Everton or Crystal Palace going forward after the international break, and he starts Bruno Fernandes. He starts Bruno Fernandes, and we then we lose. No, sorry, he doesn't start Bruno Fernandes. He starts Kobbie Mainoo, and we don't do well. Imagine the outcry. The fans will be like, why have you left your best player on the pitch? It's a double-edged sword. As a manager, it's never easy. It's never easy, because you play someone, you get criticised. You don't play someone, you get criticised. So, look, Rúben Amorim has to do what's best for getting the result. And I think most fans would agree that right now, Bruno Fernandes offers us more than Kobbie Mainoo does. Simple as. We've seen Kobbie Mainoo come on, and he's way off the pace. He's way off the pace. And we've got to accept that, and we've got to accept that Bruno Fernandes is probably better at that role right now than Kobbie Mainoo. Yes, if Kobbie Mainoo gets some consistent time and he starts improving, he could be a better centre mid than Bruno Fernandes. It's argumentative. I mean, there's lots of people who will agree, disagree. But either way, would we like to see Kobbie Mainoo leave? Absolutely not. I think it's going to be another one of those mistakes that we're going to make. We're going to look back and think, oh my God, we shouldn't have done that. But that's if he goes on a permanent deal. I think a loan move makes sense for both parties. And I was shocked that he wasn't allowed to leave in the summer if he wasn't going to be played. I mean, look how much time he's come on. I think he's come on twice or three times as a sub throughout this season. And that's not enough time. That's not enough time. And what we reported on last week was that Kobbie Mainoo's representatives were going to sit down with United and discuss and thrash this out, because they're unhappy, and the players unhappy about how much game time he's getting, and they're going to come back to the table and say the same thing that they said in the summer, which was let him leave. Let him leave. Let him leave on loan, whatever. Just let him leave, because they already know that he's not going to get the game time that he desires. Let us know again what you think about this news. Talking about him being just 20. Lenny Euro's 20 today, by the way, guys. So happy birthday to him. What shocked me was when I was looking at this news and I was thinking, Lenny Euro, just 20. Kobbie Mainoo, just 20. There's so many young, talented players at United that we've got. We just need to just be able to hold on to them and just convince them to stay on. And I think that's the other thing I would do as a manager. I would sit down with Kobbie and say to him, look, don't leave. You've got chance. You're at the best club in the world. You just need to continue working and your chance will come. The system might change. I might change the formation. There was talk about yesterday, we were talking about how there was rumours about Wilcox sitting down with Amorim talking about a 4-3-3 formation. And if that happens, then of course, Kobbie could quite easily slot into the team. There's lots of talk about that happening as well. And if that happens, yes, Kobbie has got a chance to start. But right now, under Rúben Amorim, I'm not quite sure. Sana says, to be honest, Kobbie loan Kobbie so that he can play a regular game because World Cup is near. Yeah, look, I felt bad for him. When we refused to let him go in the summer. But then I was thinking, maybe I'm being overly sensitive on his behalf. Maybe Rúben Amorim's got plans for him. Maybe Rúben Amorim is going to bring him on. Maybe he will play him. Maybe Bruno Fernandes is going to be pushed up further on the pitch. Lots of thoughts were going in my head as to what is going to be the future for Kobbie Mainoo at United. But given that they didn't let him go, I was thinking, no, definitely they're going to be playing a lot more of Kobbie Mainoo. But it transpires that he's literally just been brought on as a sub right in the last couple of minutes. Sanjay, welcome to the show. Long time no here. Where have you been? Thank you for joining the show, guys. Make sure you hit the like button, by the way, and subscribe if you haven't already. Anyway, guys, so Kobbie Mainoo, this is news I've been sitting on, I'll be honest with you. I've known this for about a week. In fact, I recorded a video on this last week. I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday. I did a full show on this, but I didn't put it out. I didn't put it out into the public domain because I wasn't sure whether, this is news that we, as United fans, want to listen to and accept. But I've also had, in this week, I've had a mixed feedback. There's actually fans who are being reasonable and being honest and being unemotional about United. And I like seeing that in Man United fans. I do, because I know sometimes we all get emotional. We all have attachment to players. In fact, I probably say I've got quite a bit of an attachment to young academy players. I like seeing them coming through, and Kobbie Mainoo is no exception. I like Kobbie Mainoo. I want to see him do well at the club, and I would be reluctant to let him go. But there's lots of other fans who I've talked to who have been quite sensible about it, and they've turned around and said, well, look, Travis, he's just as Sanos has said, which is let him go out on loan. I heard this from several fans. They all came back and said, look, Travis, you're thinking of it the wrong way. You're thinking it could be the end of the road for Kobbie Mainoo, but he could be loaned out, still progress, still get regular football, become a better footballer, and then arrive back at United being a better all-rounded football. Imagine if we had loaned out Scott McTominay and we had an option of taking him back now. Would this be a time where we take Scott McTominay back? Do you think he's learnt a lot more? Do you think he's matured as a player? Absolutely. Absolutely. You look at Scott McTominay and you think, what the hell? But then we've got to put that asterisk next to it, which is they are playing in Serie A. It's not the Premier League. You've got more time on the ball. You can do different things. You can look like a better player when you've got more time on the ball. And we're not all watching Scott McTominay with a fine tooth comb. We don't know what he's doing all game long. Yes, we're watching clips and highlights of him scoring a goal or doing something like that, but he might not be doing anything else for the rest of the game. So again, you've got to watch all the games and know what players are like. So Kobbie Mainoo going out alone, I've come round to the idea. So now putting this video out, stream out, I was a bit more relaxed. I was a bit more like, yeah, look, Kobbie Mainoo leaving, I'm not seeing it as the end of the road. I'm just seeing it as an opportunity, a perfect opportunity for Kobbie to leave and progress his career. And we might still keep our relationship intact with Kobbie Mainoo like this. I think if we force him to stay and the situation gets worse, it could be a point where Kobbie Mainoo just simply wants to leave, full stop. He doesn't want to be loaned out. He doesn't want to come back to United. And there'll be lots of suitors. There'll be lots of clubs interested. We've all heard the rumours about Real Madrid and other top world class clubs all around, top clubs around Europe looking at Kobbie Mainoo. So yes, he's a good player. Yes, he needs to develop. And we need to take care of that. We need to take care of that. Hopefully we do. Hopefully we can progress and do that. Now, moving on to some other news, guys, because we were talking about this yesterday, and we were talking about how United have said that they're not going to be making any signings, and the news was breaking the day before about United confirming that they haven't got the money to go out there and sign anybody, so the January transfer window is essentially closed for United, no signings, and that was the news coming out from everyone. And then I said to you in the show yesterday, I said, look, you've got to take that with a pinch of salt. This is not actually accurate. I mean, even though many channels have reported on it, I didn't, because I was like, no, I've not got any credible source telling me that that's the case. And what difference 24 hours makes? Because within within last night, I mean, I was getting news about United going and signing 2 midfielders in the January transfer window. And then we also got breaking news that look, Manchester United owners will provide 110 million for any potential January transfers. The club wants to bring Champions League football back to Old Trafford. They want to target the best players in the world again. I said this in the show yesterday, and you all were there as well, guys. We all discussed it, and I was saying to you guys, look, I cannot see United not signing anyone in the January transfer window. It's hands on. They're going to go and get players because they know that they're very close to achieving Champions League football. I don't think at the start of the season they were anticipating this much of a positive vibe or this much improvement from last season. I think realistically, from Ineos and their perspective, they were looking at some kind of progression, but they weren't looking at United jumping all the way up to top 4, top 5. But this is realistic, guys. It's realistic. And I think it's not just United playing good football. I think it's also to do with how competitive it is at the top, how no team apart from Arsenal have had a clear run and just been winning games. Everyone is struggling against each other. So no one's really excelled and gone into them positions, Champions League positions, and had a run on for everybody else. And everyone is in the mix of things. So that's good news. Sano says, do you know where this Kobbie Mainoo get it wrong, and when he failed to put pen to paper for another contract, he was not the same person again? Yeah. Also, you're saying, when he refused to negotiate his contract, and there was lots of negotiation going on. Look, there was some reasons for why. Now, I heard Kobbie wanted a salary increase. He wanted a salary increase. He thought he deserved more than what he was on. I think currently he's on about 40k a week, which I know sounds like a lot to everybody else, but in comparison to what everybody is on at United, he's probably thinking I could be on a lot more. I'm a future superstar midfield player. I've shown what I can do, and I think the club need to come and give me more in terms of salary, and that's what he was trying to achieve. He didn't really get it. So I like the club that they're keeping him on his feet on the ground. They're not, look, when we were looking at Rashford, I mean, I remember Rashford breaking out onto the scene, and then his salary just jumped up and up and up. And I think that's what most young players at Old Trafford now are probably thinking. They're probably thinking, oh, we could be in that position. We could jump high as well. We could start negotiating and go into a position where we can say to United, look, we want more. We want more than this. So yeah, that's why Kobbie Mainoo, I don't think he's been the same. I think there's been some love lost between the club and the player, and I think he knows that this could be a place where he could get stuck and not get out of. He needs game time. Every professional player will tell you that they want to play football. That's all they care about. They want to be involved in everything, and just being on the subs bench isn't ideal for them. They actually can't handle it. They can't handle it. Some players can't handle being on the sidelines. I think I would struggle. I think I would struggle as a player if I'm being kept on the bench and you're not being played. When you, as footballers, you have belief in yourself. You believe that you are capable of going out and playing the best football there is, and you don't want anyone telling you that you're not. you're not good enough to be playing. So I believe Kobbie Mainoo looks at the team and he thinks, look, I'm good enough to be playing in the starting 11, and I don't know why the manager's not playing me. And then, of course, the World Cup's around the corner. And again, once you've broke into the England international team, you want to carry on playing for him. You don't want to be dropped. And that's the other reason why Kobbie Mainoo's thinking, shit, I was in there. I've got my leg in there. I've got my foot in the door. I need to now walk in, and United are robbing me of the opportunity to play for my nation. And that's what he's also probably going to hold against United if he doesn't get selected for the World Cup, which looks very unlikely right now. I'm going to be honest with you, unless something dramatically changes and he starts playing week in, week out and performs like an absolute superstar, I can't see Thomas Tuchel picking him ahead of what we've already got in the international team for England. Highly, highly unlikely. He hasn't performed in a long time, Sanjay says. Yeah, spot on, Sanjay. That is exactly it. We have to hold our hands up. We have to hold our hands up and say that Kobbie Mainoo, and I'm a big fan of him, yet I also have to hold my hand up and say he hasn't actually performed. I can't think of the last game where I've seen him and thought, wow, this guy deserves to be playing in the first 11. That's my issue. And I think going out to Serie A might just help him. And it might increase his confidence like we've had with Scott McTominay. Now, actually, talking about Scott McTominay, it reminds me, let's lead on to another story. Now, in the last 24 hours, we had Solskjaer, the ex-United manager, ex-player, ex-United legend, ex-player, and he's been on Sky on the overlap with Roy Keane and Scholes and Gary Neville, and he made some interesting comments about Scott McTominay, and this has kind of made the social media round and stuff, so I thought I'd bring it to you because it's quite an interesting story where Solskjaer says, in my squad, Scott probably wasn't allowed to play his best position enough, and then Gary Neville chips in and says, because of Bruno Fernandes maybe, question mark. Okay, exactly what's going on with Kobbie Mainoo. And then Solskjaer says, yeah, Bruno, maybe the lack of physicality we had in the midfield and the legs we had in midfield, you saw a couple of, let's carry on, you saw a couple of games against Leeds where he said, Scott, this is a man-to-man game. We're going to have you running off your man, third man run. He scored 2, 3. I can't remember how many goals he scored against Leeds. I think looking at this situation, you start seeing parallels to the situation we've currently got where Bruno Fernandes again is keeping another youngster out of the first team, and this time Kobbie Mainoo. And I think Solskjaer goes on in this interview and starts talking about how Solskjaer was shocked to see Scott McTominay being sold, and how he was like, no way, this kid is going to become a great, so why have you sold him? But again, this is exactly what's going on with Kobbie Mainoo right now. We can see that he's going to struggle to compete against Bruno Fernandes because Bruno Fernandes is still the best player there. He's still arguably, despite his poor performances recently for United, in my opinion, he's not been brilliant, but he's still our number one midfielder. If you were going to pick anybody, on the team sheet, it would be Bruno Fernandes would be one of those players that you'd put in the first 11 immediately because he's still very important to United. Yes, I wouldn't put him in the position that he's currently being played in, but you'd definitely pick him ahead of others. So that is why I think Solskjaer was alluding to it. He was saying about how, look, this is an issue. This is an issue, and you can see Gary Neville, which is clever. He chips in and he immediately blames Bruno Fernandes. Look, I think we can't blame Bruno Fernandes for keeping Kobbie Mainoo on the bench. That's not him to be worried about. You can't, as a player, be thinking about who you're replacing. That's just ridiculous. You can't pin that on Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes is doing what he should be doing. He should be playing his game and making sure that he's playing for the first starting 11. That's all he cares about. He's not bothered about who he's replacing or who could replace him if he wasn't playing well enough. His job is to make sure he's the best player, and he's making sure that he's being picked week in, week out. And you can't blame him for that. So this isn't about Kobbie v Bruno. This isn't about that. So you can't pin these two players and start favouring Kobbie just because you don't like Bruno, or start favouring Bruno just because you don't like Kobbie. It doesn't work like that. It's just simply, you've got to look at it as separate situations, and Kobbie is doing what he's doing. He's trying to break into the team. For whatever reason, he's not. And of course, Bruno Fernandes is doing what he needs to do. This is more down to maybe Rúben Amorim not being able to fit these players in. But we've seen across the road with Liverpool, they can't fit all their players in as well. It's a good problem to have. But then again, you've got to manage your players and your team, and you have to have some kind of rotation going on where it keeps all your players happy. And we've unfortunately not been able to do that with Kobbie Mainoo and Zirkzee. Joshua Zirkzee is another one. We've not heard a lot about him. We did discuss him in the yesterday's show, and we were talking about how he is more than likely to leave as well. But this breaking news in the last 24 hours where Mainoo's been linked to Napoli, I can see that happening. I can see this happening. We've been talking about it for some time now. We've been hearing noises, and it's going to happen. Come January, if the situation does not change with Kobbie Mainoo not playing regular football, not starting for United in the starting 11, he will want to leave, and I believe United will end up having to let him go or suffer the consequences of having a player who's just simply not going to be happy. I think it's best for both parties to allow him to leave on loan and then have him come back. That's what I think. Again, let us know. Sanjay says United should be his priority, not England. Yeah, unfortunately, that's yeah. I mean, everyone knows about me and what I think about international duty and stuff. And I was talking about Paul Scholes and how he did the same. He actually went, look, I'm going to prioritise United over anybody else. And I think he even came out and said that, look, this is a club that pays my salary. I'm going to make sure that this is my day job. I need to make sure that I'm fully fit and committed to the club. And yeah, I like that. I like even when Fergie used to make it a point that, look, we're the ones who are paying you. Yes, you want to go on international duty, but your main priority has to be the club. But the problem is, I think saying that about Kobbie Mainoo is a bit difficult, because he's thinking, he's probably going to turn around and say, well, look, how do you want me to prioritise a club that's not playing me? Look, it's a catch-22 situation with players who want to be playing week in, week out, but yet they're not getting the game time. And then he's going to probably argue that, look, I'm fit, and if I was playing, I would be able to show what I'm good at, and you're not giving me the chance. Same thing with Zirkzee. I think that is another player who's going to probably be out in January, Anyway, coming back to other news, we got some other news, some interesting transfer news. I don't know how much weight to give this news, but I'll bring it to you anyway, because again, it's my job to kind of let you know. Now, there's a player out in Germany that United have been linked with. United have been linked with Karim Adeyemi from Borussia Dortmund. Now, if you watch my career mode videos, you'll know that I bought Adeyemi for the team. I bought Adeyemi for my team because I needed pace, not because I was thinking that this is exactly what's going to happen in the future for United. But there are some rumours flying around that Man United have spoken to the super agent George Mendes regarding how does George Mendes get all these players, man? I'm telling you, it's like he knows exactly which players to sign, and crazy. But anyway, Borussia Dortmund are not getting on with Karim Adeyemi. He's out of sorts there. He's not really getting on with the manager. He feels like he should be playing more football. I don't know what it is with him, but whatever's happening, he's not happy there and he wants to leave. And United have been linked with him. What do you make of that? I mean, good signing, not good signing. I don't know whether we can even afford him right now. I don't think he's going to be cheap. And if United priorities have to be in midfield. Forget about this right now. For me, Adeyemi is an option maybe in the summer, but we need to prioritise our midfield, get them done before we can move on and start talking about Adeyemi. Like, seriously, Adeyemi. But this has been reported, guys. It's been reported out in Build, and out in Germany that this is the case. Karim Adeyemi, I've been burnt too many times with Borussia Dortmund, man. Every time I think of Borussia Dortmund, I think about Jadon Sancho, and it just kind of puts me off signing any player from Borussia Dortmund ever again. And that's what I think. I just look at Borussia Dortmund, anyone in that jersey, and it just kind of I forget. I start picturing Jadon Sancho every time. Every time I see anyone in the Borussia Dortmund kit now, all I see is Jadon Sancho. And I just think, no, let's not go down that route again. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. I do not want to sign anybody else from Borussia Dortmund. But then again, you know, we might be missing something here. He could easily walk into many top European clubs and do a job for him. And I'm sure, yeah, for United, he'd do a job for us as well. But again, the question is whether, number one, we can afford him and how we'd fit him into our system. Now, another player from the Bundesliga that's been doing the rounds, reports about him have been hitting everywhere. And we've mentioned him a couple of days ago. We mentioned this guy. There was a few people in the chat as well who mentioned Angelo Stiller. Angelo Stiller is being linked to United again and again. He is a midfielder that is getting linked to United because, number one, he's a very good player. Number two, he is someone who's expected to leave Stuttgart in this summer or January transfer window. We're not quite sure when. And then there's that link with Christopher Vivell. Christopher Vivell has worked with Stiller, and that link is what is heating this discussion up even further, and more reports are being now written about how Christopher Vivell wants to bring Stiller to United. He's a fantastic player, all-round player, can go forward, can defend. He's just a complete midfielder. And yes, going forward in the future, he is going to be a top player. Whether, number one, we can afford him is another thing, and whether we can actually convince him to join Man United over all the other clubs who are offering him Champions League football and things like that is, again, questionable. All these players that we've been linked to, look, I don't mind being linked to these players, of course, and I like hearing that United, but all I want is United to be able to bring in these players and then actually kick on and qualify for the Champions League. Because until we don't qualify for the Champions League, all this talk about bringing in these players is just hot air at the moment. We first need to go and get in the players that we can, and that's why I'm being a bit more realistic. This whole January transfer window, and I feel like we need to go and get in players like maybe Gomez from Wolverhampton, maybe even Gallagher from Atletico. I think those options are viable right now. Although, let's just finish off the show with news on Elliot Anderson. Now, we heard from Ben Jacobs, the journalist, the transfer guru, as he is now becoming, and he went on to, I think it was Talk Sport yesterday, and he gave an interview there, and he was talking about Elliot Anderson and Man United's midfield chances of bringing in these midfielders, and he ruled out any chance of getting Wharton or Baleba or even Anderson in the January transfer window. I think he was more inclined that United will end up signing someone like Gallagher or Gomez. I've said that already. I said that the day before. However, he did allude to something really interesting, which was Elliot Anderson, if he's to be sold in the summer, can demand to leave Forest for next to nothing. Next to nothing, meaning, you know, around 50 to 60 or 70 million, around that mark, and nothing more. So although we've had a price tag slapped on Elliot Anderson by Forest for about 100 million plus, we're being told that is not the case. And if a club like United or another big club come knocking, Anderson can, and he has got something within his contract that stipulates that he's allowed to pick a club and say to Forest that you need to let me leave for a lesser fee. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of it, neither did Ben Jacobs. All he said was that there is something within his contract that allows him to leave for a lesser fee. Now, this is a common thing that we're finding in players' new contracts where they're actually leaving for a lesser price, lesser fee. We heard it with Gyökeres. I think there was talk about Gyökeres, but Gyökeres was not. It wasn't part of his contract. It was just a handshake, a gentleman's agreement where his agent had agreed with Sporting that Gyökeres could leave for anything in the region of about 70 mil as long as a decent offer came in. Sporting disagreed with that. They said they'd never said that. Gyökeres' agent was like, no, they did agree that. So, but apparently, in Elliot Anderson's case, it's part of his contract. It's part of his contract, and whoever drafted that contract did a very good job in terms of Anderson's interest, because that is brilliant. That is brilliant. So Forest can't just simply refuse to sell Anderson and wait for a gigantic offer to arrive. If a club that Anderson wants to move to, so if he's like, say for instance, a boyhood Man United fan, let's hope he is anyway, if he is and he wants to join Man United, he's got a dream of playing for United, and he says to Forest, I want to join them, but I know they're not going to pay 100 mil plus for me. So I want to go to the club. So I'm going to force you to sell me to them for 70 mil. It'd be really interesting to find out what the actual clause says, because it's an interesting clause. I don't know how it's written, what it says, but this is what Ben Jacobs reported. And if it is, it's positive news. It's positive news. Again, it's positive news for the summer transfer window. January transfer window is not going to be as easy. And we've discussed this many times before and said, look, this is going to be an issue for us. Neville, welcome to the show. Hope you're doing well. Missed the start, but you're making life laid up in bed with 4 broken ribs, work, injury, more bearable. Appreciate you, mate. Legend. Oh, I didn't know, Neville. Well, look, hopefully you get better. It sounds like a painful injury. I was watching James Maddison and his YouTube channel last night. I just come across the video, and I think someone sent it to me, and I was watching it, and I felt sorry for the geezer. I felt sorry for the kid. He was like, he's done his ligaments, and he's out for 8-9 months, if not more, and he was really emotional about being injured and stuff, and it was a struggle for him. It's a struggle. I didn't realize how painful it could be. I've done my ligaments in my knee, but it wasn't as bad as what he did. He's obviously been operated on, and he's had it fixed, and he's looking to be back again for Spurs. But wish him the best of luck in that recovery. And you, Neville, and you. Well, we're here, hopefully keeping you entertained. Sana says, to be frank, Anderson is cost too much, unless if the club can accept between 50 to 60 million pounds. Yeah, I think you're right there, Sanas. I think Jim said the same thing as well. A few other viewers have also commented about how they feel like we shouldn't get our pants pulled down with Anderson deal, and we should make sure we do not overpay for him. I'm of the opinion that just throw whatever it takes to get these guys in. That's my personal opinion. I'm usually not like this. Usually I'm a bit miserly, and I don't want to be spending money on players but I just feel like this is our one and only opportunity where we can get these players in and kick on and qualify for the Champions League. That's all my worry right now. I just don't want to be sat here at the end of the season thinking, what if we had paid that additional 20 mil or 30 mil, brought in that player? Yes, we know we would have got ripped off, but we might have been in the Champions League. I just don't want to have any regrets. So that's the only thing. But again, I agree with being pragmatic, being sensible as well. We're not in a game mode here where, we're not playing, manager mode or whatever it is, where we can just simply offer whatever and not care about the consequences. There is consequences, and even there was talk about actually letting Mainoo go and bringing in someone like Gallagher, and that might make sense, but not really, because Mainoo's on about 50k a week. That's nothing. I mean, someone like Gallagher or someone else we're bringing in replacement of Mainoo to sit on the bench will cost us a lot more. Will be a lot more than 50k a week. So I think, again, financially, you've got to kind of weigh things up. Neville says we should swoop in for the lad. He could be the difference between us finishing 7th, 8th in the European spot. Good news considering it's January. It must be so traumatic for pro athletes as well as coming back from those injuries. Wirtz had a great comeback from an ACL tear. Thanks for the well wishes. Yeah. I mean, look, once they come back, they can. Look, I was watching the surgery, watching how what they have to do in rehabilitation stuff, and I was thinking they get looked after pretty well, and they are already on their feet trying to kind of rehabilitate within about 2 weeks of suffering the injury and being operated on, which is absolutely crazy to think of, that from where they've come from and they've been cut open, their bones have been drilled into just to put the ligament in there and in place, and then boom, within 2 weeks the guy's walking again and he's trying to move his leg. And I mean, look, imagine a normal person doing that. We'd be out for weeks. We'd be out. We wouldn't move. I know what I would do. I wouldn't bloody move. I would sit there and just expect to be waited on for the rest of the month or two. I would not move an inch. I'd just milk it. That's what I'd do. I'd milk it. You know, I would completely. So Neville, you should do the same thing. And if you are, that's perfect, man. That's what we need to be doing. We need to milk it. I mean, these opportunities don't come often. I would literally be like, I'm not moving out of bed. Everything comes to me, and that's it. But yeah, just Level says, just look at how long we're taking to bring Martinez. One more injury for the man and he'll be done, for which is heartbreaking. Yeah, we've got to be careful nowadays. I mean, I think as players, you're keen to come back on. I saw it with Maddison. He was like, oh, I want to come back. I want to be playing. But then everyone around him is telling him, look, this is your last final saloon. This is your last chance. You're 27, 28 by the time you get back. And then you've got, another couple of years in you. You do not want to have another injury and it's just over. It's just over. We've seen some world-class players in football that have been undone by injuries and then their career just comes to a complete halt. And that's why I think now in the modern era, they've learned from them past mistakes. They know that making sure players get fully rehabilitated and are fully fit and then are thrown in the deep end. And I think with Martinez, I think United have been doing the right thing. They don't want him to be coming in and then going out. In fact, they've done that already with him. They brought him back early and he's got injured again. We've seen that with Mason Mount as well and other players like Luke Shaw. They keep coming back, getting injured, keep coming back, getting injured. And I think under Rúben Amorim, we finally got rid of that panic where we need to bring the players back immediately. I think now under Rúben Amorim is very careful at making sure he does not bring in back the players immediately. We saw with Mason Mount, he's managing him better, and I'm liking that. I'm liking the fact that we have Mason Mount at least on the bench for us, and he's fully fit. And I like the fact that he's coming in and he's looking more confident. And yes, long that may continue, and I'm hoping that we've got lots of players around us who are, fully fit without any niggling injuries or, anything that's holding them back from playing top football. And Neville says Wayne Rooney's body was done by 30 because he would stay silent about injuries. The passion is admirable. We have to take the pragmatic approach. Yeah, look, Wayne Rooney was flipping crazy, wasn't he? He was crazy player. What a player! What a player! I've got to give it to him. One of my favourite strikers, and that might actually give some kind of give away something for my next week's shows, where I'm going to be doing my best United 11. So each day we're gonna go through 4 days or 5 days, where each day we're gonna do each position. So we'll do strikers to start off with, and midfield, or we could start the other way around and do our defenders and work our way up. And I'll pick my top 4 defenders one show, and you guys can pick yours, and I'll explain to you why I'm picking my 4 defenders. But Rooney has to be in that team, surely. But I'm giving away too much. I'm going to stop there. No more talking about my best 11. Dar, welcome to the show. What about wasting a player's career by not giving him enough game time to prove himself? Yeah, look, That is a question mark, isn't it? We've got this. We've got these question marks that we're saying, look, do we get, how do we do this? How does a manager rotate the team? How does he make sure that some players are getting game time over others? And the problem, I look at it, Dar, it's a really good point, by the way, which is the problem with modern day football is that you haven't got room to breathe. You haven't got room to experiment. As managers, you know, anything goes wrong and you're at the risk of losing your job immediately. Whereas I remember a time when, you know, you could bring on players and rotate and change things up, and there wouldn't be that much pressure on you. You wouldn't be, oh my God, that completely failed. That experiment completely failed. You brought this player on and it was a complete shambles. No, look, this is why I feel like, yeah, there has to be, we have to give some leeway to managers to experiment and bring on players and give other players opportunities to play. Because exactly, I mean, I look at the likes, I feel sorry for some of these players who are not getting any game time, and I think, shit, you know, if I was in their shoes, what would I be doing? What would I be thinking? I mean, I'd be thinking, shit, I want to be playing every day. And I'm training with this team, I'm working hard, and why am I not getting picked? Neville says no Carabao Cup to give players that, yeah, I mean, that is the benefit of being in all these competitions, because what you can then start doing is rotating your team, throwing these players into games that are midweek games and Champions League games. You can switch things up. Without other competitions, United are struggling to rotate their team. And you, when it comes to the Premier League game, you're going to have to make sure you start your best 11, because you haven't got any time to tinker with your team. It's crazy to think about it, but yeah, this is why we need more football. We need more football, and we need to get these players rotated. And that's probably why Kobbie Mainoo and his representatives were climbing the walls when it came to the summer transfer window, because they knew the writing was on the wall. They knew, shit, he's not going to get any game time. We haven't got enough football to give him game time. And then worst thing happens, we get knocked out of the Carabao Cup to Grimsby. So that immediately was like, oh my God, this is getting... I mean, can you imagine Kobbie Mainoo and others sat there thinking, damn, that's it, it's over. Neville says Mainoo and Zertsky could be match sharp. Same with Mazraoui, Aiden Haven. If we hadn't fell to the mighty Grimsby, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and absolutely feel bad for Mainoo. He knows Bruno will never be dropped. And Dar says substituting a defender for a defender when you need a goal is denying game time to a deserving creative player. Yeah, look, I agree with you. There are times where I'm looking at a substitution and I was thinking, right, Kobbie might come on, maybe Zertsky might come on for someone like Kuna that we took off where we need a goal, but no, we didn't see that. This is why I think I've always said it from day one. I like Rúben Amorim, but I do question some of his substitutions. I do question some of his decision making live in the game. And I just feel like he needs to become slightly more aware of what he needs to do to achieve the result on the day. I feel like he's slightly non-proactive. He doesn't really understand, like, I need to make this change and I need to make it at this time. And he's getting better though. I must admit he's getting better. Last season was awful. Last season his decision-making, his substitutions were awful. You could put that down to him not understanding or knowing the players well enough. But now I think this season it's improving, but it's still not good enough. Guys, I'm going to leave the show there. Hope you've had a lovely show today. Sorry to leave you so early, but it's I'm trying to cut down the time. I feel like the shows go on for too long, and then some people can't kind of come back from work or wherever, and they're clicking on the video and they think, what the hell? This has gone on for about an hour and a half. Am I going to sit there and listen to it? I don't think many people have got that much time, but everybody who's joined us, thank you very much. Thank you to Neville, Dar, to Jim, to who else? Sanas and Sanjay. Everybody who's hit the like button on the video as well, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. That's it for today's show. I'll see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.